I'm so excited, you guys. Welcome to another episode of Community Corner. I have Miss Jazmyn Scott, amazing community contributor, and now you've been at Langston now for a while, doing some contributing there. So we wanted to bring Jazmyn on and talk about a program that's coming up, but also we have to dig in a little deep and learn about Jazmyn today. So Jazmyn, thank you for coming on down to the studio today.
Thanks for having me, Trae.
Absolutely.
It's so nice to be here. And my first time at Black Dot, so this is dope. Yeah.
See, we're breaking ground here, folks. Breaking ground. Well, I'm just excited. I've been meeting with Jazmyn now for several months. I feel like it's in April. I think it'll be a year of like just meeting about this program. So I know that for me, when I was growing up, Langston has always been iconic in terms of the performing arts in the Central District. Let's hear a little bit about your history in the CD and maybe some of your early connections with Langston.
Yeah, so I wasn't born in the CD. I am a Seattleite, Seattle native for sure. I was actually, I think when I was born, we lived on Beacon Hill, and then moved to the Columbia City, Seward Park neighborhood until my mom bought a house in the CD where she still is. And then I've remained in the CD since then. Graduated from Garfield.
Woo-hoo.
Class of 97, Bulldogs for sure. And my connection with Langston Hughes actually is lifelong. And so me being there today is really a full circle thing for my life. I think my first kind of encounter with Langston Hughes was as an elementary school child when, Langston Hughes was run by the Parks Department, and they used to do after-school programs and summer programs like day camp. Yeah. And my little sister and I used to do day camp at Langston Hughes. Wow. And then as I got older and my mom was like, this girl needs something to do. And Steve Sneed is a really good family friend and a lifelong friend of my mother's. And he was the director at Langston Hughes for a really long time. And my mom and Steve kind of got their heads together and was like, give this girl some work. Yeah. So Langston Hughes was actually my first job. Wow. I guess around 92, I think it was. Wow. I started working there as my first job under Steve. It wasn't an official job. What I found out later is that my mom was paying Steve to pay me until I became of the appropriate age where I could work with like the summer youth employment program and things like that, where I could actually get a real check from the city of Seattle. But, I worked under Steve Sneed. I learned, all of my real, like, administrative skills and just how to be a young professional and do paperwork and interface with people and that kind of thing. All of those skills for me were learned at Langston Hughes. And then in addition to that, I also participated in a lot of the summer play programs there. So I performed on the stage off and on for many years as well. Did a play, Pressure, that I remember really well with my brother Justin Emeka, who directed many of the youth plays back in the day. So, Langston Hughes has really been a huge part of my life for my entire life. And so, throughout my teens, I worked there through high school, and then things transitioned, with Langston Hughes and Steve Sneed moved on, and then I was like, I'm gonna get me a different kind of job, and so I moved on with my life, so to speak. But my connection with the arts has always been a really strong thing, and my mom is an arts producer and what they call an arts instigator, and I think out of her 3 children, I'm her middle child, and so I ended up kind of being the one that really tagged along and followed in her footsteps the most. I would be the one going to, all of the different performances and plays and meeting all the people in the arts world, and then kind of unofficially training under her. My mom was one of the people, the point person who brought in the Ma'afa in the early 2000s. And so she brought me in to be like assistant, production assistant for that. So I worked on Ma'afa and Sankofa Theater for the years that those things happened here locally. I learned to be a stage manager, working with Sharon Iree Williams, who is the executive director of the Central District Forum.
Yes.
She started something called the Mahogany Project, and for a little bit of a time, I was her stage manager for a project that she was doing when she was at Seattle University. So theater, arts, black art, that's always kind of been my thing.
Running through your veins. It's in your DNA.
Yeah. It's like I can't get away with it. I love music. I love theater. I love dance. I love visual arts, like all the things. And I love seeing Black people engaged in those kind of things.
Oh, my word.
So you know, the city then transitioned and restructured what Langston Hughes was to what it is today. So there was a community engagement process where a decision was ultimately made with input from the community that Langston should be its own nonprofit, and where it was always it's a city building, right? So the programming was facilitated and run by the city.
Right.
Now that we have separated and become a nonprofit, we live in the building, and the building's still operated by the Office of Arts and Culture, but we are a separate programming entity, so we can strictly do our own thing. We can do what we want.
That.
So Langston was created. Our tagline is cultivating Black brilliance, and we are all about the upliftment of Black art and culture in every form possible. So when that transition happened and I was learning, you know, kind of finding out what was going on, I was like, that's what I'm going to apply for.
I love that.
So in my interviews with the board, I'm like, I don't know why you're talking to anybody else, because I literally know this building back and forth. I know all the things. I have a rich history with all the things that happened here, and I do want to bring some of that energy back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When we were growing up at Langston, there were opportunities for young people to be throughout that building no matter what, right? You know, and I give Steve Sneed credit for that, because if a young person walked through the doors, he gave them something to do.
Right.
He found out what they were interested in, and he was like, okay, you want to learn lighting design? Get up in that booth.
Right.
You want to perform? Here, meet this director and be a part of this play. You want to work in the office? Come on, Jazmyn, and work in the office, you know? And so I want to bring some of that energy back. The neighborhood's changed. Yeah. You know, there aren't as many young people, Black young people, as there were when we were growing up in the neighborhood. But that institution is still there.
Yes.
We call ourselves the hub for Black art and culture. And what I like to tell people when we're opening a show or a program is welcome home, welcome back, right? Langston is your home. So come back home and engage in those things that you remember, and engage in something new, you know?
Well, I feel that what you just described, and thank you for that rich history. I mean, wow. I mean, I didn't even know all of your connectivity to Langston and the arts in general. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, that's what I'm talking about. When you have the right kind of people in the right positions, a lot can happen. And I know that you've been working really hard behind the scenes to elevate that and bring certain things back. And so this collaboration with New Black, right, and bringing back some of that programming for youth, right? You were talking about, you know, the day school and like kind of like, okay, after school programs. Yeah. You know, I know for me, being connected with Kabibi and New Black Arts West Theater and Langston and kind of just the arts in the Central District in general. And you're so right, because I worked under Justin Emeka too, and just certain people, Felicia Loud, and they were just iconic. You know, the 90s, just growing up under, you know,
amazing time.
Yeah, it was so many ways and opportunities for young folks to find their voice in the arts. And I know for me, I benefited from that personally. And it sounds like you did too. Absolutely. So I want to dive in a little, because I know, you know, as we were trying to formulate this program, we already had so many things that were so similar. We're like, I mean, as soon as we met and, you know, we're like, we should do something in collaboration with these two iconic arts institutions, right? Community arts institutions. What does that look like? And I know that people had been calling down there, wondering if there was any other program outside of the Teen Summer Musical. So I want to hear from your perspective what you think this program means to Langston and to the community as a whole.
Well, there's a hunger for that, like, that nostalgia, those things that we were able to, that we benefited from, that kind of got lost a little bit in that space. And it's just due to transition,
right?
And the restructuring that needed to happen with the city and all that. And so there's no one really to blame for that. But now that we are in a place where we have an opportunity to bring that back, that has been important to me.
Yeah.
And it's been a slow moving thing because of just how we started. I've been there I came in the end of 2016 to start programming for the organization, and since then we have just taken off. Tim Lennon, our executive director, came in the very beginning of 2018, and then we were really, so I worked a little over a year just kind of solo, trying to make things happen, which was a great experience for me. Now I have a director to work alongside where we can really focus in and hone in on some of the really particular types of programming that we want to do. And I always said that it was important that we found opportunities to be able to bring young people back into the space and engage them. One of the first opportunities we were able to do that is a partnership with the A.C.T.I.O.N International Film Festival. And so you came to one of our programs. We've been able to have ongoing youth filmmaking workshops, and they're specifically for Black youth. And these young people are able to come in, explore certain topics that are important to them, and then kind of write out what kind of the story of their short film. They storyboard it. They go out in the community and they shoot it. They figure out who's going to play what role, who's going to be behind the scenes, who's going to be in front of the camera. They do that whole thing. They shoot it. They edit it, and then they screen it at the end of the day. So it's like an 8-hour intensive day of just doing this work. And having that energy in the building was the first time for me that I was like, oh my God, I need this back. Young energy is something special,
Absolutely.
And that's when I feel old, because like, dang, like,
it's like,
it's like, oh my gosh, like, oh, this is what this feels like to have kids around all the time. But that young energy in this space really just, it does something for everybody else that's working in the building and everything, other things that might be going on. Just having these young creative minds, explore their own creativity and their own ideas, and having the freedom to do that, really not putting any limits on that, has been an amazing thing for me to witness. And it also reminded me of the experiences that I had in the 90s growing up there. So when you and Kabibi, came to me with this concept, it was like super, super exciting to me, because it's like the next level. That's really the reminder of the things that we used to do when we were doing these theater and drama programs, with Justin. And Justin, that is my brother. And, he ain't that much older than us. So he was young, writing these plays and directing us.
Yes.
And we were all kind of growing up in that process too. And so being able to bring people like Felicia Loud into the fold to support young people the way she was doing back then, and Danae Simone and some of the other mentors that you guys are going to be bringing in, and Kabibi, who, if the young people don't know who she is, I'm sure their parents do.
Right, exactly.
And we'll get a little history lesson on why she is such an important asset to this community. And so it's just so exciting for us to be able to be launching a program like this, where young people can come in from school, be welcomed into this space, learn about the history of the building itself, learn about the history of the people who have come through this building and gone on to do great things, and know that they could be the next.
You know what? I mean, you just hit the nail on the head for me, because the inspiration that we can give to the youth, I think is so important to me. And it was really the launching pad in terms of, Kabibi and I, formulating this idea and then being able to bring it to you in a way that had some bones, right? And then being able to kind of flesh it out over the last, 6 to 8 months. Right? Just being able to flesh everything out has really affirmed for me, the importance of that community connection that the youth start to feel.
Yes.
Because I know for me, that was heavy. That was heavy with me being so involved in the arts and it being so local, right? So I was doing stuff at Washington Hall, at Langston Hughes, at Garfield, right? So all of these spaces provided opportunities for me. And one of the things that, that sucks about gentrification is as spaces change, those programs and opportunities change. And even when the population changes, you still have to think about the space, right? Yes. And that's what I think Langston represents so well, is the idea of the iconic space, right? We know that building wasn't built for Black excellence, but to take that building and use it for Black excellence is key. And so I know I love to always do a tie-in with gentrification and Africatown Community Land Trust, because for me, that's one of the biggest things about working on the land trust. And so I want to ask you, because you are in the area, you've obviously seen this area change, right? And you said you live 3 blocks now from Langston, so you have great walkability.
Yes. My walk score is 100%.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. I'm working on it. Oh, mine is horrible. We won't talk about mine. But from your perspective, in relation to gentrification, the changing of the population, and bringing this kind of program back, how do you feel that we should be approaching, to make sure that we're inclusive of those black and brown youth,
Well, one of the things that I've witnessed with working with the young people who have been coming in through the filmmaking is that, a lot of their parents have informed them really well about the history of the neighborhood, even though these young people never grew up in the neighborhood. It was really their parents. It was our peers, were the ones that we really witnessed the gentrification happening and the displacement happening. And so we have these stories, and pictures, right? Because so many of the important landmarks that were here when we were growing up are no longer here. Yeah. Except for Langston Hughes and Washington Hall and a couple of places, right?
A couple others, right.
And so, we've been able to, when we bring them into that space, we have really in-depth conversations. And it's really interesting to have an in-depth conversation with a 10-year-old. Oh, my goodness. Or a 12-year-old. They blow my mind. Yeah. Just about because they're sensitive, right? They have feelings. And so when we tell them these stories about how, our parents and our grandparents, they own these properties and this community was flourishing with just, kids that all look like us and families that look like us. But then over time, we started to get priced out. Developers were coming in and they offered, $500,000 for your property. And that sounded like something that was appealing to the family at the time. We took it not knowing the effect that it would really have, not only on that particular family, but the community, because it was happening over and over again. And so as kids began to hear those stories and really internalize it, like they were mad, right?
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
And it's so interesting to see a young person, enraged about something that does affect them, but they didn't know. Yeah. They didn't know until they really started to hear those feelings. And so they started to really appreciate. I saw a real appreciation for being at Langston Hughes.
Coming into that space.
And coming into that space. And so that's why it's always important to me to relate to them and say, this is my story with this space. Like, I feel like to some people, more grown people, it's like, oh, she's telling that story again. Right. But it's important because we are working as an organization to preserve that space forever. Yeah. This is the hub for Black art and culture. I don't care what happens in this city, this neighborhood, Langston will be there. Right. Right. And so I need more us. Us's coming through. Yes. You know what I mean? So that they can come in and run this nonprofit, in 15, 20 years. Absolutely. And expand on this mission and vision and values and goals that we're trying to create and uphold right now, And so we have to, it's crazy because I just feel like I'm my mom, I'm our parents right now, because it's like we have to pass this on. We have to pass the torch. Right. We have to tell these stories so that they understand the importance of it, so that they want to pick up the torch. And it's not like we're making them, right? But that it's a natural thing for them to be like, you know what? when I get 20 something, I'm coming back. And I had a few kids be like, I'm coming back.
Yeah, see?
I'm going to go make my money and I'm coming back and I'm going to buy up all the houses. I mean, they had these big, beautiful dreams. And I was like, and you can do that too.
That's right. Absolutely.
You're going to do that,
Absolutely.
And so I just, being able to bring these young people back into the space through these programs like that, these really unique and special programs, is inspiring them to contribute to their community, right? And be a part of something greater and just be great.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Just
like
be
flourish,
great people.
Flourish in your greatness.
Yeah.
Well, I think that you address several things there too, because the way that we've been marketing is to their parents, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that their parents understand these important connections. And that's one of the ways that we strive to kind of, as we're kind of really rebuilding our culture to a certain degree, when you talk about, the loss of certain things. And now like, okay, no, we're not going to even talk about it as a loss. We're talking about how we're doing it now and what we're going to do to move this stuff forward. So to me, I'm excited. I'm excited that we're able to bring this to the community. Yeah. I'm glad that you and Tim and the folks over there are super excited to bring this. I think that one of the things that we have seen and that we've noticed in talking to different families is, we have certain hubs right now with Northwest Tap Connection, dance, right? Yeah. But there isn't anything for acting. So I'm glad that we're going to be able to fill this void. And I just, before we end here, I just wanted to touch on how amazing the Teen Summer Musical was this past summer. I loved, obviously, the theme of gentrification. And I thought it kind of brings together what we're talking about Full Throttle. Because when the students are able to kind of bring their passion to a topic that is being dealt with in this kind of adult world, right? So many other things come about from that, right? And so I just loved it because I was there with my 6-year-old, and he has it. Maybe that was his first play. To be honest, I'm just trying to think, like, had he seen a play before, like really a real play? And I can't remember that he had, but he paid attention the entire time. Wow. And then after, he was like, Mom, I want to be Charlie. I mean, I was so thrilled, as a theater mom. I was just like, I was like, yes, my baby's gonna get into theater. So for me, I'm always thinking about the lens through the eyes of my sons, right? And what is out there. If he really wanted to do this, I'd have to take him to Seattle Children's Theater. So I'm like, no, we need to develop something from within the community. That's right. Again, I think you've hit a lot of points today about how iconic Langston is, but let's hear a little bit about some of the things that are going on now. I know you guys have a show out now. Yeah. How can the folks engage with Langston?
Yes, so we have a new website. It's still the same web address, but it's a little bright, shiny, and new. Nice. Updated. It's langstonsseattle.org. Okay. So you can check out our website, see what we have going on. There's still some updates that we're rolling out, so it's a slow rollout, but it visually looks better, and we have some updated information on there already. Nice. We're on Facebook at Langston Seattle, and on Twitter at Langston Seattle as well, and then on Instagram as 206 Langston. Nice. So you can engage with us any way you want to. Facebook is a great tool to stay up with us. Okay. Sometimes our Facebook is more updated than our website because we can just throw things out a lot quicker. Absolutely. There. And then if you do go to our website, subscribe to our newsletters, get on our mailing list so that we can send you information about what we have going on. We currently have a show running in partnership with Sound Theater Company called Reparations. Ooh. And it's deep. And it's really good. We opened last Friday, opening weekend. We're off this weekend because CD4 has a show going on in the space called Showing Out. It's about Black choreographers. Wow. So it's a dance performance show. So I encourage people to support CD4. That's our partner, our other programming partner in the space at Langston Hughes as well. So check out Showing Out. And then Reparations will be back on MLK Day Monday. We'll be doing a special industry night and honoring the Hansberry Project. Wow. Valerie Curtis Newton. So feel free to come out on Monday night after you do the marches and get some rest and do that whole thing. Come see Reparations on that night. And then we'll also be running the weekends again, Friday through Sunday with Reparations. After that, in February, we have World Cancer Day celebration with the Sierra Sisters. It's all about bringing awareness about cancer, specifically to Black women. So there's a number of health professionals that'll be there, a lot of information. It's fun, so it's not like a boring kind of stagnant thing. It's free. There's like free dinner, bomb food, giveaways, all kinds of things like that. State of Africatown is happening at Langston Hughes as well. We have a ton of stuff. I mean, my memory, it can't hold everything that we have going on, but our calendar is really full, and we're excited to be rolling out some of the programs, all the programs that we'll be rolling out. And then, of course, our film festival. Everybody looks forward to the film festival. We changed our name from Langston Hughes African American Film Festival to Seattle Black Film Festival.
Love it.
And I just want to go on the record to say the reason, there were several reasons why we decided to change the name. One, it's just Langston Hughes African American Film Festival is it's a mouthful.
It's lengthy, yeah.
It's a lot to say. But we also wanted to make sure that people knew that we are always focusing on the African diaspora, not just African Americans. And sometimes in that title, it could be misleading, especially when we were putting out call for work. Well, is this just for African Americans?
Right.
But we get submissions from Black folks from all around the world.
Wow.
And so we want to make sure that that's a clear understanding that this is a reflection of all of us, this film festival. So when we rolled out the new name and we rolled out our call for work, we got more submissions this year than we have in a long time.
Wow.
So we've got our work ahead of us as far as like selecting films and things like that. But save the date for April 23rd through the 26th, Seattle Black Film Festival at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. So,
amazing.
So many things. Yeah.
So many good things on the horizon, guys. Well, you guys heard from Jazmyn Scott today from Langston. We're so thrilled that you could give us some time out of your busy schedule. I know your schedule is like packed, but thank you so much for coming down, sharing your thoughts about this amazing program.
Yes.
So ACT-ION, you guys, it stands for Acting Communally Together in Our Neighborhood, and it is going to start on January 22nd. It's from 3 to 6 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we have a final performance on June 6th. Yes. So we might be adjusting some stuff for the program because we want to make sure that we get our youth out. So give us some feedback. If you guys feel that maybe the time doesn't work, or hey, I want my kid to be there, but they wouldn't be there till this time, let us know, because we are thinking about adjusting it and having a firm program start at 4 p.m., but kind of opening the doors for any youth who do have or get out of school in time to kind of come on down, hang out with us, grab a snack before we start programming at 4. Mm-hmm. So we're working on some logistics, but this is acting classes for our youth and for our community by instructors from the community. So feel free to check us out. We'll have the link embed below. And we want you guys to engage with Langston. She gave you all of the resources to touch base with them so that you can be on their newsletter and find out about all of the amazing performances and events that they have coming up. Thank you again for joining us today.
Trae.
It's been amazing having you down here. I've learned so much about her today. I'm thrilled for the conversation we're going to have off camera. So thanks again. I appreciate it. And this has been another episode of Community Corner with Trae Holiday. Thanks for watching, guys.